Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti, hoping you guys are having a good day and that you're looking after yourselves and one another. Before I begin my segment, if my voice sounds a bit off to you, it's because I'm dealing with a really bad head cold and I'm trying to keep it from becoming a really bad chest cold. So far, the cold is winning, but I'm doing the best I can. So again, if I do sound off, I do apologize. I want to welcome you back to another installment of Album Spotlight. Now, I've done a ranking the album segment on this band with Peter Kent, but I have not picked an album to do a spotlight segment on. That band is Thin Lizzy, and the album in the spotlight today is Jailbreak. Jailbreak is Thin Lizzy's sixth release overall, their third release with what I call the Mark II lineup of the band, consisting of Phil Lynott on bass and vocals, Scott Gorham and Brian Robertson on lead and rhythm guitar, and Brian Downey on drums and percussion. Now, Jailbreak, in terms of an album, was considered to be a pretty much a make or break situation with the band. Vertigo had approached them prior to the writing for this album and said that if the next album after Fighting didn't come up with a major hit single, they would basically be off the label. Their previous two albums with the Mark II lineup of the band, Nightlife in '74, which had I'm Still in Love with You, which was a concert favorite, and Fighting from '75 really didn't have much impact on the charts. And in terms of hit singles, really didn't have any major hit singles. So the band were basically they were with their backs up against the wall, and they felt they needed to come up with the goods for their next release. They pretty much did. Um, and in terms of lineups, although there have been many different lineups of the band, the original lineup with Eric Bell, and there would be future lineups featuring John Sykes, the infamous John Sykes, who is also again missing in action still, and Sonny White on guitar. The mid 70s lineup consisting of Scott Gorham and Brian Robertson, to many and to myself as well, is considered to be the classic lineup of Thin Lizzy. Now, on to Jailbreak. Jailbreak was released on March 26th, 1976, recorded at Rampart Studios in London, produced by John Alcock and pretty much the band. Has a playing time of 35 minutes and 52 seconds. So relatively short playing time, compared to albums nowadays. Albums back in the 60s and 70s pretty much had a playing time of anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes maximum for single albums. So um, it was short, but very concise and very much to the point. The singles that were released from Jailbreak, everyone knows the boys are back in town. That is their basically one and only hit in major hit in North America. And I should add as a quick footnote, I was surprised to find out that Jailbreak was their only album to go gold in the US, sorry. So, which was quite surprising to me considering their catalog. The Boys Are Back in Town, released with Emerald as the flip side, as the B side, was released on April 17th, 1976. Some countries, including the US and Canada, featured Jailbreak as the flip side to The Boys Are Back in Town. So pretty much you had a 1-2 punch with that single. Jailbreak was released on its own as a single with Running Back as the B side on July 30th, 1976. And Cowboy Song, backed with Angel from the Coast, was released in Canada at that same time, and the US as a single. Now, in terms of an album, this sucker, for me, is basically all killer and no filler. I mean, Phil Lynott being the main thrust of the band and the main songwriter really went for the throat in terms of catchy hooks and melodies for this album. The songs are much more straightforward, clear, and concise. Um, Again, very catchy hooks. Starts off with Jailbreak, the title track. And they go right for the throat. Very much in your face melodies, great rhythm guitars on this, and there's pretty much a dramatic build on the breakdown section of the track. Just uh, great chugging rhythm guitars on this track. And if you look at the promos for this album, even the whole packaging on this album in terms of the artwork that was done by Jim Fitzpatrick, a friend of the band, and Phil Lynott in particular, the whole packaging of the album had winner written all over it. I mean, in terms of, like the cartoon of the four members of the band breaking out of jail, going on a rampage for the one night or however long they were free from jail kind of thing. Just an amazing package overall. And when you see Phil Lynott, when he would do promos for the album, there's a performance of them doing Jailbreak with Phil Lynott wearing mirrored sunglasses and just standing there at the mic, at the bass, just having this, come on and get me attitude if you think you can take me on kind of thing. So I got to say that this album, from start to finish, from the songwriting to the overall packaging, is bloody amazing. Okay. So Jailbreak starts off the album. Then you have Angel from the Coast, co-written by Brian Robertson. All the songs were written by either Phil Lynott solo or members of the band. And there is one song, Emerald, that is co-written by every member of the band, all four members of the band. Angel from the Coast is track 2. Funky guitars on the beginning, great dual guitars between Scott Gorham and Brian Robertson. They do a lot of twin harmony guitar work, playing the same melody line on the guitar. Just fantastic. Really fast-paced um, tempo on this track in terms of the drums. And it's just beautiful, very funky. All 5 tracks on side 1 basically hit you in the face with really catchy, fast-paced rhythm and, catchy melodies and catchy hooks. Running Back is the third track. And this is the one track that, for members of the band was a bit of Brian Robertson in particular was a bit of a, a pain in the ass for the band because Phil Lynott hired outside musicians, session musicians, to sort of punch up the sound on certain tracks. And this is one of them, Running Back, where it features like keyboards. Um, on the track. And really, the keyboards aren't really necessary. And Brian, as I'm watching, I'll run out of the room, sorry. Brian Robertson had said also that he felt that the keyboard playing on Running Back was pretty much bollocks. Okay. And he felt, why would you pay? He said basically in an interview, why would you pay so much money to a session musician to come in and add in extra parts when there's no need? You had Brian Robertson, you had Scott Gorham on lead and rhythm guitar, you had Phil Lynott, okay, and you had Brian Downey. That's all you needed. And when you listen to the track, it's a short track, 3 minutes and 13 seconds, something like that. You really don't need the extra keyboards that kind of like underpin the track. And I do believe I hear a bit of saxophone in the back as well, which isn't credited on the album. Um, Track 4 is a track called Romeo and the Lonely Girl. Very catchy hook on this track. Nice guitar tone from Brian Robertson and um, Scott Gorham. What I do like about the lyrics for this album is there's a bit of a duality to them. Some tracks are very harsh and in your face and like tough. Feel like take us on if you think you can with songs like Jailbreak and song coming up Warriors. And there are other songs with a lyrical content like Romeo and the Lonely Girl which basically talk about, the character longing for a lasting relationship instead of being on the road and, having to, live your life and, like promote the band and be on the road and do your work. So, I mean, and although the character knows that he needs to be on his own and do his work, he longs for, you know, a lasting relationship, whether it be with family or with friends or a wife or a girlfriend. It's hard, and there is that duality going on in the lyrics. Track five is ending of side one. It's a track called Warriors. Um, the bass is really prominent on this track. There's a lot of soloing on this track using wah wah pedal by either Scott Gorham or Brian Robertson. Sorry, almost had the name straight up there. And the inspiration for this track is pretty much someone that is taking drugs. And Phil Lynott said in an interview in '76 when the album came out, he said the inspiration for this track was basically people that he's seen around, Jimi Hendrix and Duane Allman, people who basically live their life and they live their life a certain way, and they knew that what they were doing was potentially going to hurt them, but they didn't care. They basically went off and did whatever they needed to do in order to live their life, and they were going to face whatever came their way, you know, unfazed, and they were going to do whatever they needed to do to live their life and get what they wanted out of their life. So, I mean, that's basically the message behind Warriors. Side two starts off with The Boys Are Back in Town, the lead off single and the main, hit single from the album. No one can deny that this track is the quintessential track from the album. It's the track that made the album, that sold the album. It's the track that put them in the charts, for this time period. The Boys Are Back in Town is basically a feel-good track, just fantastic rhythm with the bass and the drum pattern on it. Fantastic dual rhythm guitar and lead guitar on the choruses and stuff. Just amazing. And it's a real feel-good track. It's like you put this track on, or this track comes on the radio. And again, side note, this track is still played on FM radio today. Okay. It's never gone away since it's been released. It's a real feel-good track, right? You put it on, or if it comes on the radio, all of a sudden you sort of like you're tapping your foot, you sort of bopping your head to the rhythm, and it's just, you know, it's got this feeling of, seasons changing, the warmer weather's coming, summer's coming, as with the lyric, the nights are getting long, won't be long before summer comes, Um, you just feel yourself having a good time. It's like, you're out on a Friday night or a Saturday night, and work is done. You have no problems or no issues or headaches till Monday until you have to go back to work, and you're just enjoying yourself going out for a night with a friend or your partner or whoever, and just enjoying whatever happens. A good feel good song, right? Track seven is one called Fight or Fall. It's a very laid back tempo on the track, very relaxed feel in the guitar, and basically it's talking about the character is talking about whether, like he's chosen this life of being on his own and trying to find fame or fortune or trying to make a life for himself. And he's realized that this is the life he's chosen. He's basically going to be on his own. Excuse me. And fight or fall, or succeed or fail, this is what is going to happen. This is his life, right? And again, a very laid back tempo on the track with the drums and even the vocal delivery and even the guitar solo. It's no set format with the guitar solo. The guitar solo sounds like it was made up on the fly during the recording of the track. And it was basically that the guitar solo was going to go where it was going to go, right? There's, it's not formulaic. It's very natural, the guitar solo for this track. So I love this track. Uh, Next up is one called Cowboy Song. And this is a favorite one that's done in concert. Has a very nice, gentle intro, with just, Phil Lynott singing and the bass guitar, doing some notes, and you hear harmonica, very slight harmonica in the background. And around the 43-second mark, the band comes in, the tempo changes, and the band come in. And when they do this song live, you can hear the audience start clapping when the tempo changes, right? They're getting into the track, right? And when the band come in, they just hit the mark perfectly. And again, it's about this guy talking about, this is a life he's chosen for himself, and he's missing his girlfriend or his wife, and he just wants to go back to, being with his family, but he can't because this again is the life that he's chosen for himself. Great song. Sorry. Fantastic track. Again, when you hear this live, the audience does get involved. You hear them clapping and really getting in the rhythm of it. And this song was co-written by, Phil Lynott and Brian Downey. Emerald is the last track on the album, track 9. The one track that is co-written by all 4 members of the band. Great rhythm guitar on this track. Just fantastic. The drums that come in, um, they pretty much underpin the track. They keep the track moving, from start to finish. Great dual guitar solo um, on this track. It basically, you hear them almost like dueling. Who's going to win? Between the left and right channel, you hear the guitars come in on the solo, and you kind of wonder who's going to win the battle, if there is a winner in this battle of the Emerald. Just fantastic. It is easily the heaviest track on the album, and for 4 minutes and change, it really packs a hell of a wallop, right? So, yeah, that's the base. That's the end of the album. 9 tracks in all. Again, 35 minutes and 52 seconds. Clear cut and concise, but right to the point. And every track goes for the throat. Okay. Um, and that's the album Jailbreak. So please tell me again what you think about Jailbreak. Is this your favorite Thin Lizzy album? Or again, what is your favorite Thin Lizzy album? There are no right or wrong answers, right? And in terms of albums, I mean, the band went on tour for this album, and unfortunately, Phil Lynott contracted hepatitis on tour. And in those days, when you contracted hepatitis, you basically had to go home, right? And the same fate happened with Queen when they were touring with Mott the Hoople for the Queen 2 album. I was going to say Queen Tour. Queen 2 album. They had to cut the tour short. There was a last night in Boston when Brian May came down with hepatitis. He had to fly back home. So the same thing happened with Thin Lizzy. The tour was cut short. They had to fly home. So while Phil Lynott was recovering in hospital, he wrote songs for what would become Johnny the Fox, which was released later that year in October of '76. And the album was also produced by John Alcock. But between the 2 albums, between Jailbreak and Johnny the Fox, um, even though Johnny the Fox had Dancing in the Moonlight, um, I don't know. There was just something missing from Johnny the Fox. So if it was, excuse me, if I was going to compare the 2 albums, I would say Jailbreak is by far the superior album in terms of song structure, melody, and hooks. So please let me know again what you think of Jailbreak, or what is your favorite Thin Lizzy album. Coming up today, I'm going to be recording more episodes with Bill Schuster for our top 5 albums of the 1990s. We have yet to cover 9 years 1991 to 1999, and that's going to be airing this coming next week, I should say, by the time this airs. So please, again, look after yourselves and one another. Please do not catch this head cold if you can avoid it. And click like and hit the notification bell, and hit the subscribe button. And if you hit the notification bell, it keeps you on top of any new content I've got coming up. So that's it for now. Please look after yourselves and one another. I'm Armando Venditti signing off. Bye for now.